Welcome, everybody, to a VO Booth Besties popcast. We're here to help working voice actors get your most important questions answered by industry pros who know. If you haven't joined our amazing VO Booth Besties Facebook group, you should. We're fun. And we also encourage you to visit our website at www.voboothbesties.com, where you can access more than 80 podcast episodes, a demo producer series where we go in depth with demo producers to find out about their processes, and tons of other great content. So without further ado, let's meet our fabulous guest, JT.
Thank you very much. 2024 marks Billy Collura's 30th year in the voiceover industry. Billy's 3-decade journey at CESD New York has equipped him to adeptly handle its evolving landscape. He has worked in all areas of VO with a concentration on commercials. Known for his vast experience and approachable nature, he stands as one of the industry's most respected and sought-after voiceover agents in the business.
All
Well,
right.
thank you so much. Thanks for asking me, guys. This is all very exciting. I'm really a little nervous. Like I said, nervous, happy, scared, excited. But yeah, thanks for asking me. I'm looking forward to this.
I think there's an acronym in there somewhere.
Nervous-sighted.
Nervous,
Something.
nervous,
Yeah.
scared, excited.
Nervous, happy, scared,
In
excited.
SEC, yeah, I can't. I
We'll
don't
figure
do
it out.
that fast. But Billy, we're really excited to introduce you to our community because we don't get a peek inside the workings of CESD very often. So it's kind of nice to have that peek inside your mind and what your processes are and your thoughts on the industry. Something in your bio really stood out to me, and that's where you mentioned the ever-evolving landscape of VO. So let's start by talking about your journey a little bit to where you are now and how that landscape has evolved over that journey.
Well, sure. I mean, when I started at CED, it was the S wasn't there yet. It was, I mean, just think there wasn't internet yet. We didn't have computers. Everything was done faxing and over the phone. And when I started as an assistant, the world's oldest assistant, we recorded, we had booths and we recorded on cassette tapes. So literally it was a little tiny booth and the actor would come in, and if it was paired up, it was two actors, and I would line up the tape and hit it. And if somebody screwed up, I'd have to rewind and line it up. And then I would walk the tape to FedEx and send it off to the ad agency, at the end of the day. And now obviously the landscape has changed because the technology has changed. When we were sending CDs and recording it on that. But now, everything is done with technology. Everything is done on MP3s and sent and electronically. There's none of that. It just moves so much quicker. Back then, it was a small group of people that did VO. It was not a lot of people that did it. Now I always CESD has always been a union shop up until 2019, where we started, as we saw the shift, going to non-union. And basically what happened there was when digital started coming in, ad agencies were reaching out to these great production companies and having them do their digital content. And they were doing it much on, it was great content, and they were doing it much cheaper. And so you would see things on, and there's such a difference between a non-union commercial and, from what you see at late night, and then what they were producing for the internet for certain things. And then they were like, you know what, you really did a great job. Why don't we just give you all of our TV? And let's face it, it just kept getting better and better. The technology kept getting better and better. But also in the same time, more and more people, because of the technology in voiceover specifically, as I say, everybody with a mic, every jaboni with a mic was doing it. And it just kind of, it opened up the whole voiceover world, incredibly, more than I could ever imagine. We've always been an exclusive agency. So, yeah, I say that, we're a signed agency. In our union world, we're a signed agency. we do freelance in the foreign language market just because there's not, other than Spanish, there's really not enough work to bring somebody on in the foreign language. So we've always been exclusive, but in the non-union world, it was new to us. We didn't know. We had to start from scratch because CESD was already an established agencies. There were plenty of kids coming out of the schools that weren't in the union yet. We drew from our print department, from our on-camera department, from our theatrical department. A lot of these actors were equity, but not necessarily SAG-AFTRA. We started working with them. And this was the time where all the talent agencies had in-house studios, where we, as a voiceover agent, kind of got the best of both worlds because we also got to play casting director. Because ad agencies would send us the scripts. They were basically cutting out the middleman, cutting out the casting director, and they would come directly to us because we did it for free. We still do it for free. We still do the casting for free. And we turn it around quick. If I have 10 people that we would get the breakdowns. If I had 10 actors that were right for the job, 10 actors were going to read on it. It's different than if casting director, back in the day, you would submit a list, you would fax a list, or just, send a list now over the internet, and they would pick 3 or 4 because they're not just coming to me, they're going to Buckwall and they're going to back then Paradigm and everybody else. So they're picking 5 here, 5 there. So that changed. In the non-union world, it's the same. Like, we started doing non-union in 2019. So it really kind of opened up. It's a lot more work. And as you know, non-union is the Wild West. There are no set rates. There's no set anything, but it also, we agent our non-union actors the same as we do for our union actors. We have to protect them. We ask the questions. We do not work on jobs that are in perpetuity. We do, we ask the questions. If the rate sucks, we're not going to work on it. We're going to pass.
Right.
It needs to be worth our time, because there are so many people auditioning for it. Not only are there lots of talent agencies across the country, but now there's managers who are acting as agents. There are a lot of them out there, and they just send it to everybody. They'll just a blanket and to fit. And they're not always the most honest. And I don't want to say anything in particular, but sometimes our actors that are with a manager will say, "Hey, did you get this Colgate?" And we're like, "That was for a 50-year-old black man. You're a 30-year-old white person." They just feel like if they're sending copy, then they're doing their job. Whatever they'll throw it out there, whatever sticks. We don't have that philosophy.
Right.
It's our reputation.
It's a matter of quality over quantity. I think
Absolutely.
that as voice actors, sometimes we feel like, and actually one of the questions that we were asked by someone in our community is, how do you know if you have a good agent? How many auditions should you be getting per week? And it's like, it's not about how many auditions you're getting per week. It's about whether they're a good match and whether that you feel like
Right.
you're being represented properly.
That's because, we're a signed agency. We don't oversign too many people in one category, because it's not fair. In the union world, I mean, I have to be honest, 70%, 60 to 70% of my desk is non-union. And so my union actors don't hear from me as much anymore. The opportunities are just not there. I rarely work on radio anymore. Industrials, very rarely. Union or non-union in industrials, but the union world is, those opportunities are less. Very few, I won't say nobody, but very few actors can make a full career in the voiceover world right now. And it's been that way. It's not just like in the last year or so. It's been oncoming. It's been the last 5-10 years where more and more of our actors have had to get other gigs where they're not, this is not there. Used to be like you could supplement your career with voiceover and very few made their career, but now it's just nobody makes a career out of voiceover unless you're the fortunate few. You're the voice
Right.
of something. And I do have that. I'm very lucky that I do have certain actors that have campaigns and had long-term campaigns. So
Do you feel like the change to streaming and more people watching on streaming like Netflix and Amazon and Disney versus watching broadcast TV, where the paychecks are quite a bit higher for commercial usage on broadcast TV than they are for streaming? Do you feel like
mhm.
that is driving down some of the ability to find uh, lucrative work?
Um, yes, but right now it's like all work is good. I had an actress today who just recently did was very successful in the non-union world. She had booked a TV show, Broadway actress, booked a TV show, had to join the union. And today I sent her something for a low budget, SAG low budget digital waiver, and she passed. And I said, "Hey girl, you can't pass on this shit. You got to read every demo, every low budget waiver. And by the way, this is your union that put the low budget waiver into effect. Agents hate that, but that's not going away. So you can't say no to a demo. Um, but everything now, because so much more is done for the digital world, everything is traditional digital with streaming. There are different payoffs now, and the union, they're always kind of making, I don't want to say making deals, but making deals, making it easier and easier for the ad agencies to retain their signatory status and to not go non-union. But more and
Mm.
more blue chip companies are going non-union.
Can I
So,
jump in and to actually to tie together what you were saying? These two ladies know I got offered a job not long ago, and the job was good. The rate I kind of like grappled with a little bit, but as part of our discussion, we found that this is again another reality. It was as if they had copy and pasted every place you could possibly market and just put it in the usage. Like it
mhm.
was this
Yep.
big
Mhm.
fat package deal. And honestly, it was like, and I even spoke to my agent and she aligned with you. She goes, "You do it.
You
You do
have to.
it.
You
Like
have to.
it's decent money. Like it could be more, but probably in another lifetime." And now it was like all the socials, all the OTT, it was just this like
Mhm.
big package deal. And I'm seeing that also more and more. It's not just a singular, just for this usage, just for this. They're grouping them.
Absolutely. And then now more with the SAG, with the new pay structure that went into effect, I guess 23, 20, yeah, right. This is 24. Yeah, 23, where people can pay up front for things. And I'm finding that on a lot of renegotiations now, where they just want to, excuse me, pay up front for everything. Or it's like, but for the digital stuff, it is a 1 year. Well, you have the option of 8 week, 13 week, or 52 weeks. So they just want to get that paid. And in the non-union world, it's always if you end up on the final,
Yeah.
and it's like, and you don't know, you don't get any notification. I just did recently find out like one actor was replaced. This young 30-year-old guy was replaced by a 55-year-old woman because they thought, you know what, this spot just sounds better with a woman. So they said he will get paid session, but obviously no usage. She will be getting the session and usage. So yeah, I mean, it's all deals now. It's all and in the non-union world, you don't have a lot. The only thing you can do is say no. No, I'm not going to work on this. I had something the other day. Um, it was so many deliverables for 2 years. Um, and the rate was criminal. And I told the casting director, I said, I can't work on this. I said, I wanted to say, Sean, you ought to be ashamed, but you're getting paid your rate, even though the
Yeah.
actor's getting screwed. And it was for 2 years. And I thought, she said, well, they're paying plus 20. I said, I don't give a shit. This is horrible. This is criminal. And I'm not going to work on it. And a lot of that. Well, that's what the client wants. Well, then the client can settle for second best. But unfortunately, there are so many actors that will do it. that, if actors keep accepting less and less, then it's just a race to the bottom, basically. Because
Exactly.
somebody will do it, and there are managers and agencies that, don't have the level that CESD does. And there are a lot, I know that there are a lot of the New York agencies that don't work on stuff. And we don't collude, but we talk. I mean, we know, because a casting director will say, yeah, so and so passed as well, or and then sometimes I say, am I the only one that didn't bitch? And they're like, no, so and so, or am I the only one that asked about this? Or, and a lot of times, yes, or because people just need the work. Um, and I
Yeah.
may be, I've been doing this a long time, and maybe I am a pain in the ass, but I have to be, I'm still protecting the client.
Somebody at the end of the day has to advocate for the talent. We can't do it
Absolutely.
other than
Absolutely.
just saying no. Like you're saying, that's the only real power
Yep.
we have.
Yep. Mhm.
So let's jump onto another topic for a little bit, because
Okay.
this is something that everyone who doesn't have representation wants to know. And that we hear a lot of talent saying, I can't even get listened to, right? Like, I can't even get listened to, let alone signed. So, in your opinion, is it even realistic these days for talent to believe that they're going to sign with an agent unless they have a very niche voice or know someone who's going to connect them? And I'm talking in the industry as a whole, not exclusively with CESD, but you can speak from your experience there.
I listen to 98% of everything that I get, okay? But I tell people you have to make it easy for the agent in general. Some of the basic things I tell people, in answer to your question, yes, you can get, we do hire people just on demo submissions that, you know,
Come via
it's not the,
email.
yes, I do a lot of classes, and I meet people through a lot of classes that I have signed, and that during COVID, which we maybe will hit upon. But yes, you can get an agent. So I listen. So here's my big thing that I always tell actors. Um, you have to make it easy for the agent. Um, Attach your MP3. I want a commercial demo. Okay. I don't want a character demo. I don't want a narration. I want a commercial, strong commercial demo, and I want you to attach it as an MP3. Do not embed it into your SoundCloud or your YouTube. Do not make me work, because I will not. If now you can attach your website, you can attach all that bullshit, all that stuff's not bullshit, but all that stuff in the body of the email, and I may want to go. And you can put your character demo, your animation demo, and all that stuff in the body. But for me personally, I need your commercial demo attached. And I need you to send it to me during my business hours. Don't try to send it on the weekends. Don't try to send it at midnight at night. I'm old. I will forget, and I will not go back to it. Okay. I guarantee you, I will not go back to it. So that's really important. And also, when you're sending it to an LA agent, send it during their business hours, 9 to 6. That's our business hours. You're selling to Chicago, you're selling to New York, our business hours, 9 to 6. Make it easy for the actor. For the agent. That's what you need. And yes, we do. I do a lot of classes during COVID. During the pandemic, I did so many classes where I met amazing people. And that's why we used to say, oh, you need to be in the tri-state area, or else, because casting directors, because you needed to run around to the casting community, and you needed to come to the office to audition. Now, COVID change was the game changer. Obviously, we told all of our actors, if you want to do this, you up your game with your equipment, and you get Source Connect. I mean, we do not work with actors that do not have Source Connect. Um, we got screwed in the beginning, where people, oh yeah, I have it. And they didn't know how to work it. And nobody did. And yes, there were other methods, but Source Connect became the norm. That was just it. Everybody knew it. They were comfortable with it. So it became the norm, and it is still the norm. The only thing that has changed for actors that are in a major city, maybe where the agency is. Like a lot of our older actors, they didn't get Source Connect. They didn't do anything. But now, but they could still send an MP3. They were still capable of doing that. We don't accept things on your iPhone or, your phone, because you're not only auditioning your voice, you're auditioning your studio. But now some of the people that didn't maybe get, that didn't get Source Connect or don't have a home studio, they will go into studios in New York now. That has opened up. And I always ask because, I always say, is this just remote or in person? And because so many of the studios do casting in New York, they're always like, yeah, you can definitely come to Sonic Union or definitely come to Sound Lounge for the booking if you're New York local. And now some of them are even encouraging it, that, I think that the casting is not in person. You may get a phone audition. Some are doing Zooms. There's one engineer casting director who does auditions through Source Connect because he wants to cut to the chase. He does not want to fuck around the day of the booking. He wants to know your Source Connect is solid and that you are ready. So he does auditions through Source Connect, but mostly there's only a couple casting directors that will direct you. We do it all. The talent agencies, we do all the casting, basically. And that's what I was saying. It was the best of both worlds. I got to be agent and casting director and still am. So yes, you can get an agent through these classes. I did a lot of them. I met a lot of fabulous people all over the country. And I represent people now all over the place. And that's great.
So when you're listening, so you do listen to the auditions that come through your email, if they come through at the right time.
Absolutely. Well, auditions, or we listen,
Sorry, not auditions.
Demos.
Submissions. Right,
Submissions.
demos.
Demo submissions, sure.
Do you prefer demos that are made by a particular demo producer, or do you care if they're self-produced, or
I don't care. I
do
don't
you
care.
want them to be booked work? Or
No, I don't care. I don't care. I'm listening to your read. I mean, if you don't know me, make it sound as professional as possible, make it sound as good as possible. If I meet you in a class, that I'm listening to it differently. Because I've worked with you in class, whether it's a 1 week or 2 week class, I've worked with you. So I don't necessarily need all the bells and whistles if I know that you have some talent, because people in these classes are at different levels. Of some people are just starting out and some people are seasoned pros. So and I'm always like, whenever I do these classes, I'm always like, just tell me where you are in the process. It just helps me being able to say, yes, this is something for you, or no. And that's why these classes that aren't extensive, 6 or 8 weeks, come study with me for 6 weeks and we'll put a CD, we'll put a demo together. What if you're not ready in 6 weeks? That's why these classes that you're just meeting me. You could say, oh my God, I really love this. Or, you know what? Voiceover is not for me. Yeah. And I love that it has that. And I tell people what is expected of them, and you either make that choice. But some people are farther along and they want to sign with me.
right.
Um,
Now you're
so
teaching a class in Dallas, a paid workshop that's a
Mhm.
3-hour class.
Yep.
So that would be probably a great thing for someone who is interested in working with you in the future, to get to know you through a
Mhm.
3-hour class.
Sure.
So if you're going to the One Voice conference, consider signing up. There's my pitch.
Thank you.
But for real, that's, I feel like it's valuable anyway, even if you don't sign them at the end of the day. But so tell me, do you ever do cold reads with people? If you like their demo, do you then bring them on and have a conversation with them, have them do cold reads?
Um, what's more important is the meeting. I'm only one of five. I'm one of 5 agents, 6 agents in the department. We have an animation agent, we have a video game agent. Anita and I do commercials. There's a promo narration trailer agent, a non-union animation agent. So I'm, there's a bunch of us that work together. So, if we feel strongly about somebody, and not everybody's right for every department.
Right.
So there are a lot of people in the animation and gaming department that I do not know. And then if they're, if Christian and Marla really feel strongly about somebody, they'll turn us, they'll let us know. But commercially, if we like a demo, we'll have a meeting with them, whether it's Zoom or in person now. And that makes all the difference in the world because you need to be able to sell it. Now, there's not so much in person anymore, but you still need to be able, you need to be able to sell me. You need that I need to know that you have personality and you're not, like a Mama Luke, that has nothing. Um, in the, that you don't have any personality
Right.
because you're still going to be, there's going to be a point where you have to interact with a producer, with a casting director, with a copywriter, and you need to be able to have that personality to accommodate that. So, cold reads for us, no, we heard your demo. Um sometimes sometimes a demo, if we're on the fence, we have said, you know what, I'm not, your demo's kind of one note. Let's see what else you can do, and we'll just give them some commercial copy, put something else together. Um, but we don't like to, we're not going to do like a cold read while we're online with somebody, on a Zoom with somebody. That just, yeah, that would freak them out. We want you to always be in the most comfortable atmosphere. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
So
Before we move on, hold
go
on,
ahead.
before we move too far ahead, Genevieve asked, where are you teaching classes and how can she find them?
I there's two places that I frequent. One is Acting and Voice Studio. It's based out of New York, but I also think they have a place in LA, and the other is Actors Connection. But I do Actors and Voice Studio. I do usually do an intensive, a 2-week class every month. I have been
Hmm.
Actors Connection. I just started. I used to just do panels um, with Actors Connection, but now I'm doing more of the 2-week intensive. And it's basically, I talk about the biz. We talk, question and answers. We read copy. We talk about, we read copy. That's the most important thing. And I don't like, so yeah, those two places, Acting and Voice Studio. There are other places that I will guest. One-on-one, I haven't done one-on-one um in a long time. But then I just did for J. Michael Collins. I don't know if he has if it's a school or what, but I did one of his recently in New York, which was great, really different atmosphere and very rewarding for me.
Awesome. Sounds like there's multiple places people can catch you.
Yeah.
So tell me this. Back to like when people are submitting, do you ever check out their social media presence?
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm, not at
Okay.
all. Okay.
Other departments will. Other departments will, like, I got to tell you, it took me a long time to understand the influencers. But in voiceover, that it doesn't really matter. I'm concerned. I want to know that you read copy,
Yeah.
and I've had people that don't necessarily have a real interesting voice, but there's just something about the way they read copy that I wish I knew what it was and could bottle it, but um, they're they just know how to read. That's all. I'm not really concerned about how many followers you have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. JT, or let's see. NJ, do you have, I think, some questions?
Let me see if I can find one in here. I'm teasing you. um, well, okay, let's just, because after this, just understand this is how kind of, if you don't know from this side of our world, as soon as you offer up even your existence, people are going to reach out to you. So
Mhm.
just by the mere nature that you have shown up, you'll get emails. So like brass tacks, what are you looking for from talent when they're reaching out to you? I know some people are like, you said, send me the attachment, but when I'm trying to connect with you, am I sending you a novel? Am I sending you a CV of my life history? Do you just want me to just be short and sweet and just say, hey, saw you on the thing. Will you check out my stuff and then let it be? Like,
Yep. Yep. That's all I want.
yeah.
I was saying to Alicia earlier, people always ask me, do you want a list of all my voiceover credits? It's like, nope, don't care.
Yeah.
Don't care what you did. But me, Billy Collura, I like send me your theatrical resume because
Fun.
I like to know, oh, you played Adelaide in Guys and Dolls. I know you can sing. Oh, you took,
Yes.
you went to UMass Amherst where I went. Oh, so things like that. Oh, you took a class with a friend of mine or somebody else. Those are the things that I like to know. So that's why I like the theatrical. That's why I like a theatrical resume more so than a list of all your credits. Yeah, all your voiceover credits. That doesn't, I got to live in the now,
Yeah.
I want to know that you're working. I want to know, and the other thing is I want to know, do you have Source Connect? Where are you located? Do you have Source Connect? Um, so that is most important. And I also, I think I saw on one of the other things about, if you have agents in actors feel like they need to have agents in, you know, 15 different cities. You have to understand that is not appealing to me, especially if you have an agent if in one of the majors. I'm in New York, I'm a major, Chicago, LA, New York. Okay. If you already have an LA agent, you are not appealing to me because your loyalty will, of course, be to that LA agent and on duplicate copy. We all work on the same things.
Yep.
Most of the time, there are, LA market may get a little more San Diego zoo than I will, but but there are a lot of stuff, and some agencies will just work specifically with a management company, which I'm finding in the non-union world. But there's a lot of duplicate copy. The ad agencies are reaching out, even with my LA office. I mean, we do have an LA office. We don't, and we share and we see what each other's working on every day, but we get a lot more opportunities in New York, but we see what LA is working on. But if you have an agent in one of the other majors, we're hard pressed to want, because we're not going to be second.
Right.
Because if I only have 5 slots and then I send to you and you say, oh, I already got this from LA, then I've lost an opportunity and now I'm down to 4 shots, especially if you don't tell me right away. So now that being said, some of the smaller markets, the Dallas, the Atlanta, Phoenix, which I know, Boston, Seattle, Portland, there are a lot of smaller markets that have wonderful talent agencies. They're not going to be getting the same stuff
No.
that we're getting.
Yeah.
So those are more, we're okay with that. We always just say to our clients that if you do have that, just check in with us, especially if it's radio. I don't care. But see, you can ask if we're working on it, but you're gonna know we're not. But the
But
only
here's what
thing.
I'm hearing you say over and over is I'm hearing the word communication and relationship. And I
Absolutely.
know that you and AB have both of those
Hmm.
in the hat. So that's something I think people need to remember too is, you know, Billy may be big and been around for a long time, but you're still communicating with your talent.
Absolutely.
You're not above having that communication, that conversation, the check-in. And I think that's really important to kind of demystify for talent.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm texting, I'm emailing,
Mhm.
I'm on the phone, getting back to that. I was just talking to a client just a little while ago who's doing a show at the Old Globe in San Diego, and he's an audiobook, because they do handle the audiobooks, and he's big with that. So we're talking on the phone just because, something gets lost in translation with emails, but it's also because voiceover works so quickly, you have to text people, and it just it's a different world. So yeah, but no, I like to have that relationship, especially if I haven't spoken to you. My union people that I haven't maybe spoken to in so long, I'm gonna want to pick up the phone and talk to them because um you know, because I don't have that. Now, many of them are my Facebook friends. I don't like to use Facebook for business, you know. Facebook is totally pleasure. People, I don't, you know, if people message me, you know, I don't do that. Same thing with me for Instagram. I don't like business that I have have an email address, and that is how I like to be approached.
So,
Um,
let me ask you this. This is kind of a personal thing for me. I'm curious in your experience. I also work in on camera.
mhm.
Now, is that like a no? Like, does that skew you at all to go, I don't know if she's actually, because I've heard another agent go, yeah, if you're doing on camera or theater, this agent actually said they wouldn't be interested. They were like, we want to know that you are wholly committed to being a voice actor.
Yeah, that's bullshit. Because for so long, CESD, CED, we only signed across the board. You had to be with us for on camera and voiceover.
Oh,
So
okay.
that was a thing.
Okay.
And, but if you wanted to be with our on camera department and we said no way to voiceover, you had to kind of weigh, is it more important for me to be with them on camera wise? And I'm only going to hear from voiceover occasionally. Same thing. We've lost a lot of voiceover people, a lot of great voiceover actors because on camera um,
Ah,
just couldn't deliver the goods. And it wasn't that they didn't want to, it's just those opportunities are just not there anymore. So
okay.
no, we pull from our theater, we're in New York, we're a theater town. Our Broadway people, they've got a little more cachet. A casting director may want to hear them. And it's like, do you have a booth? Do you have a Source Connect? Okay. I
Let's
know,
talk.
yeah, absolutely. You're on Broadway right now. I know you got 8 shows a week. Fine. I'm not gonna, you know, I know when your show's in preview, that's when I can approach you. You're free on Monday. So
Yeah.
yeah, no. But now you can sign just voiceover just on camera. So that's not
Okay.
a deterrent at all. And we have a comedy department. We get, that's what we pull. That's one of the strengths of CESD is because we pull from so many different
Love it.
departments.
Yeah, eclectic. So I'm going to ask you one more question and then I'm going to turn it over to JT. So this has been kind of, again, another hot topic between the three of us, the besties, is we are finding with auditions, and we'll even do this with each other, that we'll get copy and we will read the spec and we'll do the audition. And inevitably, one of the two takes, we're going to have a pretty similar cadence. We may pause in the similar places or do inflections similar places. And we had one person tell us, we had one casting director tell us that said, that's actually good. It means you get it. Like you got what the spec was saying and where, really what where the copy should go. But at the end of the day, and I had this conversation with my agent too, how much is it just the voice? Because a good director, a good producer can get you to the read. It can get
Mhm.
you to the cadence they want. But what is the thing that is standing out to you when people are submitting? Because and we did an exercise in this where we had our community send us auditions, and we actually went through and listened to every one of them, and we heard how you could very easily listen to no more than 2 seconds and you were passing. Like you figure that out pretty quick. But is it this the voice? I'm saying just that's such a narrow thing to say,
mean,
but
there's no set answer.
okay.
If a copywriter and a producer um have a celeb in their head and
Yeah.
they obviously can't afford, then they can't get that person out of their head. If they, it's just like for me, like I read copy and once I read the copy, I think, okay, I can hear it. Um,
Hmm.
and so who of my talent do I think can do this? Um, like who has the comic timing, who has this, who has that. Even if it's one line, which is the hardest. But
Yeah.
it, um, Yeah, no, it is about the read. And yes, you can tell. But when I listen to 10 people and I'm like, and I know who is going to be like if I have to, I rarely we can only send 5 people. I may have 6 or 7 if I'm, and I have to
Yeah.
Sophie's Choice, one of those actors. And I don't like to do it. I don't like that. If they want 3 people, you know, because with Select VO, it only allows you to upload 3 people. That's it. If that's whatever it calls for. Casting directors, if they say send me 4, I'm sending you 6 because I don't know, especially if it's last minute, because I don't know who's going to get it to me last minute. And if it's 6, guess what? You're going to listen to 6 or not, and that's your choice. But yeah, it is about the read. You never know what that particular agency, producer, copywriter has in their head. They know it, but a lot of times they've already got that predisposed, and they'll,
Right.
or sometimes they like, the spec is 18 to 80. We'll know it when we hear it.
That's annoying.
Why am I, do your fucking job, give me some help here.
So,
That,
so when you're going through your own talent and and I've heard this over and over that casting they want 3 like that it's
yep.
getting really tight and really competitive. Do you want a talent to be submitting something a little bit off spec, or is that the second take? Like, how can your talent stand out to get to book the spot?
Yeah, I always say don't be safe, I mean, especially in that second take. You can't, people always want to, do the polished read and, everything is off the cuff, everything is, um, the guy next door,
Yep.
it's all that. Yeah, there's no real answer to that. Yeah, you have to take a chance.
Okay.
Um, you know, especially on that second take. But sometimes are they even going to get to the second take? Do you do it on the first take? I
Exactly.
don't know, and I don't like actors that say, here's 5 takes, pick the best 2. Absolutely not.
No.
Sending the first 2, that's it. I don't have time to listen to your 5 takes. And but we do listen to everything because we have to make sure your quality is good, that you slated correctly or not
Yeah.
slated, that
Yeah.
it all of that. We listen to everything. If you miss the mark we're not afraid because we're playing casting director. No, you missed the mark on that. You mispronounced that word. It happens a lot.
How
So
often do you or your other agents do you give feedback to your talent? Do you do something like, I don't know, quarterly to just be like, hey, haven't been booking, let's listen back, or maybe you don't have time. I mean, I know you
I
guys are
I
so
I
busy.
I don't have time.
Yeah.
Um, but I know who's booking and who isn't.
Mm-hmm.
The people that have been in the business will take a coaching class.
Okay.
It doesn't hurt, sometimes there are a lot of casting directors that just will only take people that are in the business to just kind of, they'll do a workshop and it's not uberly expensive and that kind of stuff. We don't have a lot of time, but sometimes I'll say, this is not good. I know, because I know you can do better. Uh,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
yeah.
All right, JT, I'm sorry, I'll jump.
AB, did you have something?
Well, I was just going to say sometimes that feedback is you have to solicit it, like to ask. I know in the past I've reached out like specifically to Anita and said, "Hey, I haven't booked in a while. Is there anything that I could do? Do you recommend that I coach?" And she was like, "No.
Yeah.
Don't coach. Stop. You're doing great. You're being shortlisted. You're being considered consistently." And she's like, "Don't, just stay like you are." And so sometimes the feedback isn't quite what you expect, and just because you're not booking doesn't mean you're not doing a good job. And that's why
You got to remember they're
communications.
hiring one person,
Yep.
and I always say if casting directors, because it's different, sometimes they say, send us your best 5. And then others, I will submit a list and the casting director will choose who he or she wants to hear. And I mean, just like the old days. And you have to remember, like, but if that casting director if you're still hearing from the agent, because you got to understand, it's very rare that we get to just open submit, 15. And there were some some agencies that will submit, there's some agents that will just submit their whole client list, and we're not like that. So yeah, you can't be a professional student. I always say that. Do not be a professional student. You have to get out there, and you have to try. You have to try it. Get out there. And yeah, you don't want to be over polished and doing too much, but every once in a while, sure. If you need a coach, if you feel it, but you have to do it for you. That's the important thing. I know one of the other things you wanted to ask is how often should you change up your demo? That was one thing. If you're not getting any response to your like maybe you need to shake up what's on your demo, rearrange things. I always say put your best stuff up front, because if I haven't heard it in the first two things, you cannot be Vanessa Williams and save the best for last. Not going to happen, because I'm not going to get there. If I seriously, and no character shit up front. I don't want to really hear any character stuff on your demo. At all. That's a separate demo. And if it's so good, put it at the end. If you're bilingual, let me know. Let the agent know if you are bilingual. But that's also on a separate demo. But going back to how often should you, if you're not having any success, then maybe you need to kind of, switch things out with your demo a little bit, maybe every 6 months. We would love, I mean, we have actors that have not changed their demo in 20 years. That's just a fact. They're still advertising the AMC Pacer. So, you know, uh, yeah,
But
but
along the lines with the feedback and the updating the demo and things like that, like, are you also dropping talent if they're not booking, if they're not staying current, if, they're not, I don't know,
you know
are you
what? Well,
dropping
I
talent?
gotta, we're not, we don't like to drop talent unless they're toxic, it's always been that way where, um, people get it, the activity, especially in the union world, they get it. That there is no business. I don't really truly believe, we don't believe in dropping people. If you're doing your job, if you're communicating, if you're getting your auditions in on time, if you're following directions, I don't want to have to chase you for auditions. You don't know how many times we have to chase people for auditions. They're due at 9, and we have to space it out. They could be the eight the agents and the assistants, they could be editing 10 demo. We're working on any given day, we're working on 10 to 15 different jobs. Okay. Not every day. Sometimes there's 6, sometimes there's 3, but more often than not, between all the departments, we're working on on an average, about 12 a day. So not only are we putting them out, but we have to edit them and send them off. So you have to communicate. So if you're doing your job, if you're communicating, if you're letting us know, when you're out of town, when you're available, read when give you all the information. Don't audition for something if you know you're not going to be available for the booking. But you really have to be a fucktard for us to drop you. You know, that
Well,
just,
that sums it up.
yeah.
So, when somebody sends in their audition, are you sending it back to them and say, flip these for me, or are you doing that in-house?
We do that in-house. Yeah,
Okay.
we breath every. I mean, we'd like you to clean it up as much as you can, but we're breathing everything and making sure the
Okay.
quality is good. And sometimes, talking about feedback, there are certain booth managers. Our LA booth manager will do. They'll do workshops. They will work with you on a specific. Um, they will work with you on something if you request it. Christian and Evan will work with you, if time allows, that sort of stuff. And we're very fortunate because we have our assistant Jessica is bilingual. So yeah, she's just amazing. That she is that she does, and she can handle that, and she knows, and she'll like, no, that accent is not Peruvian, she knows. Um, So we're blessed to have her, but we will give you fee, we will help on certain things. You just can't do it all the time.
Okay.
But yeah.
So going back to when you were talking about the process where you might send a list of 10 people to a casting director and they'll say, okay, we want these five.
Mhm.
Or they'll just come to you and say, hey, we want you to send us these three people because they've
Mhm.
worked with them before. How are new talent getting in front of those casting directors and getting those opportunities?
The good casting directors will say, I don't know so and so, or I will attach their demo. You may not know. These people are new. You may not know, so I will attach their demo. There's some casting directors that you have to send anybody you submit. You have to attach their demo or a prior audition so they can hear
Okay.
they can hear them. But new talent, that's my job, is to get new talent in front of people. And casting, they always want to find the new person. They always want to find that new voice. And I get very excited doing the classes and finding somebody. And um, I get excited just on a radio demo as much as a national network campaign. I've had people that couldn't pay their phone bill 1 year to the next year making six figures. So it's our job as an agent to get you heard, and it's a lot easier because we do so much in-house casting for on the like the VO Select. Actually, that's it right now because there is one other, the old Voice Bank, they turned, but we don't hear from them much. VO Select plus ad agencies that come to us directly.
Okay.
They will, it's our job to get people, and you just kind of go with the momentum um, that with somebody's booking. You just you go with the momentum of that person. You got to keep building that career. So.
And as trends change, do you ever go back to your talent and suggest that they do a class or do some coaching or kind of,
Yeah,
like
of
when we
course.
shifted to the millennial read,
Of
not
course.
everybody was going to do that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and some people knew that it was, that it was time. They say, well, I can sound 25. Yeah, not next to a 25-year-old, you can't.
Right.
So, you got I think fortunately that used to happen a lot more. And also the comparing of, well, this one she got this thing. How come I didn't? That doesn't happen as much. The reality has set in where people just know the reality of the business right now. And I got to say, and it is a definite thing between union and non-union. There's so much more opportunity in the non-union world. I talk to so many more of my non-union people and FICOR people than I do my union. It's unfortunate, but that is the reality. Is just so much more. And I think also one of the other big trends is people of color in advertising. I mean, on camera
Mhm.
and voiceover. Um, I don't know if this is true, but I feel like in the non-union world, they're not so caught up on checking boxes. They really do pick the best voice for the job. I talk to as many of my non-union white actors as I do my non-union black actors. There's no delineation there. It's all diversity, but I find it more so in the union world where it's like all diversity and the specs are Viola Davis, Tiffany Haddish, and Angela Bassett.
Right.
You know, do the math. But not so much the in the non-union world. At least that's what I have found. Uh, so, but yeah.
Okay. Um, mhm.
I think it's really nice that you have that insight into both worlds. We hear a lot from the union world or the non-union world, but you kind of have this beautiful insight into both.
Yeah,
Um,
I feel lucky. I feel fortunate. That's why talking about going to these conferences and stuff, it's a whole world. I feel very lucky that at this stage in my career, I'm still learning. People always say, "What makes you come to work every day?" And the thing that I always say is because my job is different every day. I never know what's going to be ahead of me. I have the basic thing, but you never know whose life you're going to change, and who's going to call. I just feel lucky, and that's why I'm looking forward to Dallas and this whole area. And there's so many parts of the voiceover world because my concentration. For me, it's commercials. I do ADR looping. I do the audiobooks. I work on podcasts. But the whole animation and video games shit that we used to just dabble in, now we have full-on departments that have matured over the years, and I'm so proud to have that. I don't know a lot about it because people used to say, "I want to do more character work," and I'm like, is that just funny voices in commercials? Like I couldn't grasp that character work was they wanted to do, video games and animation, and that is just very different. And there are some people that just want to do that, and I'm always like, man, yes, it's rewarding, but go where the money is. Go where the money.
Yes, we want more money.
Yes, in commercials, you
Hey,
know.
before we wrap up, this has been amazing. This is actually a total 180 question from our audience, and I am very interested in your answer. And the question is, what advice would you give to someone who is considering becoming an agent?
Interesting. Um, be prepared to make no money at the beginning. And for a long time, I was fortunate that I had a rich boyfriend at the time who said, take this job as an assistant. I was waiting on tables. And he said, take the job. He said, one of these days you'll make more than me. And he was right. And I still, even though we're not together, I still, every year, I call him and I thank him. So if the interest in no, and this is one thing that I came to New York to be an actor. And one thing that I feel is that I had the opportunity of having a casting director who was a friend, a commercial casting director who's a friend. Now he does what I do. But I used to he would say, come to the casting. I need help here. And I would go in and I would watch. And I always had a fascination for this side of the business. And I think that, especially in the voiceover world, if you want to do this, you have to seek out the agencies that are doing this, specifically target if you're in a small town who's doing it. You don't really need, there's no training for this. You have to be able to be smart on the computer. If you have smarts, if you're going into voiceover, but even for on camera, you have to have some technical smarts. Thank God that is after me because I have no technical smarts at all. So that you need, I was telling Alicia earlier, I've never had a professional resume. I've only had an acting resume. I never had. It was because of who I knew. They said, oh, CED's looking to add to their voiceover department. And, so the advice, if you really want to do it, seek out who's doing it, approach them. There are like I forget, there are entertainment career websites that are specific for it. But it's hard, and it is like who you kind of know. It's not as easy from when I started 30 years ago. But be prepared to make no money. That's
Yeah, the
and there's
advice
yeah, and there's
the
less
advice in our
money,
group
and there's
was
less money in that, and there's less money in casting, just so you know. There's a little more, there's a little bit more in the agenting world because I thought, oh, I want to be a casting director, but nah, no.
Oh, that's funny. I was just in a workshop last night with
Uh,
Doreen Frumpkin, and she was
uh,
saying, as an independent casting director, one day you're searching your house to see what you can sell on eBay, and then the
true.
next day somebody comes to you and they're like, "Hey, I need you to cast this," and she's like, "Thank God."
And Doreen is successful. She's been
Yeah.
she's been doing this as long as I have been, and she's wonderful. And she, in my estimation, is one of the most successful New York casting directors in the business, and one of the best. So it is funny, but there's less there's less money if that's possible, and there's
the ad-
less. Yeah.
I would say the advice in our Facebook group that someone gave was marry rich. And I think it's funny how you kind of outlined that at the
It's
beginning, but
it's true.
it's kind of becoming the same thing for voiceover too, where it helps. When people come in and they're like, "Oh, I have a family to support and I'm trying to make this my full-time job." I'm like, "This might not be for you."
Yep.
I have the luxury of a husband with a full-time job and benefits that I can do this, but not everybody has that.
Yeah.
So,
And I always say, it's not a hobby. You can't just dabble in this. It's really, it's not that's not, you have to have dedication, and you really have to pursue it, and all of that. So many actors I know are cobbling it together to do this and this and this and this, and for cheap money and for little. And but I don't put the pay to play sites. They're there for a reason, but you can't be on them forever. But it does get you repetition and auditioning, and so I don't feel like you should pay to audition. Boom. You
yeah.
should not pay for an agent. You should not pay to audition, but they're there for a reason, and I understand them.
So, Billy, we're right at 7:30. Do you have a few more minutes to answer a few more questions, or do
Of
you have a
course.
hard out?
Nope. I ain't
Okay.
going anywhere.
We have a few questions from our audience that I think are kind of fun questions. One of them is you mentioned pay to play platforms. This one's not really pay to play, but someone asked if a talent has started their career on a site like Fiverr, do you care? Do you want them to leave the site when they sign with you? Do you want to even know?
Um, sure. I want to know. We're not one of those agencies or managers that wants a piece of everything you do. We don't believe in that. We're there to help you, to guide you. If you, it can be very awkward for an actor to talk money. Sometimes you don't have that option. It's like take it or leave it. Sometimes, actors will get a job on one of the pay to plays, and then separately will work with that firm or whatever doing work. The only thing I ever like, the only thing we ask of them is like, if it's a TV spot, if it has the possibility of being a conflict in the commercial world, that's what we need to know, because we may not want you to do it because it could be, even though it's not holding exclusivity, it could be de facto exclusivity. You could be selling is it running in perpetuity? Just if it smells funny, if it sounds fishy, chances are it is. Just run it by us. But we don't want a piece of it, you know. So yeah, we need to know that. But it's not like, we're
So
going
you're
to tell
not
you to stop
blacklisting
it.
people
No,
and
no,
saying, "Oh,
absolutely
they're
not.
on Fiverr. We could never work
No,
with them."
because people are making living. I know that there's somebody who just, all they do is the ACX books, is that, the audio books. I don't want a piece of that. You got to do all the heavy lifting. It pay as shit, but people love it. People do it. They make a career, they can make a lot of money. So I don't want to, but I'm not touching that. I'm not touching that. I don't need, yeah, it doesn't pay well enough for me to like, I don't want that, to touch that.
Awesome. So when your talent that have signed with you are submitting auditions and you have a due date, so let's say it's tomorrow at 9 a.m. That's a
Mhm.
pretty typical CESD due date, right?
Yep.
And if you get it at the day before at 4 p.m., is it better to submit it at the day before or 4:30, or or does it matter you're not going to submit them until after 9 anyway?
Yeah, we're not submitting until after 9 unless it's same day. That's the only time. And the reason we're doing it at 9 a.m. is because Jess has 10 auditions she needs to edit. And some are due at 11, some are due at 2, some are due at 5. So she has to pace herself. They have to pace. So, but we don't want to have to chase you, or it's like, I'm at a show tonight until 11:30. I have a show tonight till 11:30. Is 9 o'clock the deadline? Can I get it to you by 10? And we'll say yes or nope. Unfortunately, we have to submit at 9:30 or 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
So we submit it. We will upload. Select VO allows you um, to submit as you go. But you don't know if they're listening to it. We don't know if we're submitting and they found the voice in the first two people, and the rest is, we're just auditioning into thin air. Casting directors, we'd like to submit it in one chunk. Because casting directors don't want to get repeated emails. Oh, well, I have to go here, and there's this 3 MP3s here, 6 here. No, we like to do it all together, unless it's same day. Then and the casting director will say, just submit them as you get them. That's so. But it's always great to get them in as soon as you can, because it also gives us the option, of saying, oh, you missed the mark, or oh, quality sucks, or did you do this in your bathroom? No. So yeah, so there's
Okay,
that's for us.
that's great. I know it's been not the experience of the bulk of the industry to have agents who are willing to fix if you label it wrong, or fix it if you forget to slate. And that's one thing that I appreciate about CEST is that if I make a mistake, they're not beating me down. But I feel like it makes you more motivated not to make mistakes because you
Mhm.
actually care about the people on the other end of the conversation. Instead of you're afraid they're going to drop you, it's, I know Jess is busy. I don't want to add anything else to her plate today. I got to make sure I do this right. So
Mhm.
we talked a lot about communication and relationship building. And I think it's just important to remember that you guys are human. Like NJ pointed out earlier, Jess is a person with
Mhm.
an apartment and people in her life. She's not just a person behind a computer. And
Absolutely.
so get to know the people you're talking to, right?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely. Be the good client. There are certain people that are, consummate clients that get the work done. They get in. You don't have to go chasing them. And so I know when I do have that last minute stuff, who can I turn to? Who can get it into me at 2 hours? Who's going to respond to me? Quickly. I had something today where it was bilingual, and the casting director screwed up, and she said, shit, I didn't realize they wanted English and Spanish. I just thought they wanted Spanish speaking in English. La, la, la. And this one guy was like, I'm already at he was performing in the parking. He was like, I'm already here. I can't get this to you, but he communicated. It was, it
yeah,
was, it was quick. But when you know who your go-to people are, because those opportunities, they don't come along a lot. So you want to know who's dependable, who's going to get them to you. And also the people that are good. You're not just, I know that they can turn this around, but they have to be good. They have to have the talent. So,
right. So, is there any point in applying for representation if you don't have a professionally done demo? Or, and if so, what is that? What would you like to hear from someone?
um, yeah, your demo is your 8x10. It's your calling card. It's like back in the day when people would send me their headshot, and I was like, I'm gonna hold it up to my ear. It's not going to do much for me. If you want to be in voiceover, but if you're not coming as a recommendation from a casting director, but if you're just sending blindly, you have to have a demo. Um, and a minute, variety, best stuff up front. Um, yeah, you have to have a demo.
Yeah.
Unless you have an in somewhere. I mean, even casting directors, you need to have a demo. And it needs to be a strong commercial demo. You are going to audition for every video game. You are going to audition for every animation project. You are going to audition for every narration project. But I'm going to submit your commercial demo. And then if I submit 6 demos, they're going to say, I want to hear these 3. Um, so that is what's most important. I always say having that strong commercial demo.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you have any?
promos are a different beast. So if that's a lot of our promo guys really can't do commercials that great.
Because
Um,
they sound like this all the time.
all the time. But you get caught in that, you're in that zone for so
Yeah.
long, it's hard to break out of it. But I say that, but I truly mean we're very lucky that a lot of our promo guys are just as successful in the commercial world,
Yeah.
uh, and have been.
Actually, someone asked earlier in the comments, he said promo is really his strong suit. So his commercial demo isn't what he would normally send. So if he was going to approach someone like you, would he send both?
Yes, but yeah, you can send both, but I'm most interested in your commercial. Please, if you have an animation demo, fine. Don't just send me an animation demo. Send me a commercial demo and your animation demo because I may pass it along. I like this person and I may pass it along to Marla and Evan and say, does this person appeal to you for, for
Right.
animation? You have a video game, you have a gaming thing. Christian, does this person appeal to you? Because and they're like, yes, yes, or no, or yes. So yes, you can have it, but if you're coming to me, Billy Collura, you need to have a commercial demo.
So that kind of leads into my next question. If commercial isn't where they want to work, do they do their homework and just send the demo to Marla or to Christian, or does everything go through you?
Oh no, I'm just
Okay.
one of a few agents. But if you know me, if then you have to go where
Mhm.
you know, use my name or whatever. But yeah, I mean, you don't have to go through me. I'm just one of the 5 agents. But yeah, do your homework. You want a promo, then you send it to Donna Mancino. That's promo narration. She's the head of the promo narration trailer.
Right.
So yeah. But it's a different, promo world is a whole different world in itself. So much. And that you really do need a strong demo. But again, you're auditioning a lot for the promo, but a lot of times, she's just sending 3 quick demos. It's the same people. I know I think I saw another question about a narration demo. I don't need a narration demo, that's hard. Um, and now narrations in the, industrial, but the Nat Geos and the DIYs and the A&E and all that kind of stuff, though, that you're auditioning or they're going to celebrities or people that are already well established. Concentrate on the commercial demo.
Right.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So we had a question in the chat that I feel like I could answer this too, but I want to hear your take. It says, what is a normal rejection rate for auditions? 1 out of 100 gets accepted, or does it vary by person?
It definitely varies if you're getting 100 auditions, lately, that's a lot. It's hard. You can be, God, yeah, I don't know what that ratio is. Um, I mean, yes, do we have people, we have a lot of clients that are repeat bookers. They just get it. And there are others that can go 6 months without booking anything but they're maybe not having the opportunities as often as they used to, or so it's hard to say, to give a number. And back to, they're just hiring one person, and you don't know. You could be auditioning. We don't know when we send an audition. Like I know when I'm sending auditions to a casting director, she or he is only hearing 25 people. So I know my actors, whether it's 3 or 5, are going to be heard. But on the VO Select, I have no idea. They used to not limit the amount, and so many they would close the audition before the the ending, like they would say, this is due on Thursday, it's now Tuesday. So we always try to get it out as quickly as possible and just submit. We don't wait. We're not going to wait till the end, because what was happening was they found their voice. And so they were like pulling the audition. It's like, well, we wasted our time. Wasted your time, you wasted my time, wasted the actors, so um yeah, you don't know. I wish I could answer that, but I just have no idea. And it does vary.
I feel like that mentality of like how many in, how many comes a little bit from pay to place, where you can see your data, you can see,
Oh,
oh, I've been shortlisted 30 out of 100 times, or I've only been I have people who say, I've done 1,000 auditions and never booked a job. And I'm like, then it's probably time for some coaching.
yeah.
Like you can probably use that data to let the market tell you a little bit, but it's harder with agent
And how
auditions.
accurate is all of that? You know, like I always feel like the pay to plays, that's a business. That's a true business. They're not really, they don't care about the quality. They're not in there for the artistic value of your audition. They just want to get the job and they want to find the voice for their client so they can make their money.
Yep.
So, and that could be, and I don't know because I'm not as familiar with the pay to plays. I don't know if it's accurate. I don't know if they're full of shit. It could be it could be very true with the algorithms or whatever, but I don't know.
Yep. All right. Well, we have been through so much and you have so much to offer, and I love your ability to take all of your experience and just dump out fabulous gems of information for us. And so I hope that anybody who's listening will take a chance to take a class with you, whether through Actors Connection or in Dallas at the One Voice Conference. But
Acting and Voice Studio. That's the
acting and
other one.
voice, is that one only in person or is that one digital
Oh,
as
no,
well?
no, 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 no. I do. That's the Zoom. Yeah, they do. And I think they're in both LA and
I've done many of those.
Acting and
Yeah.
Voice. Yeah.
Yeah, because they do, yeah, obviously they do on camera too. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, and that's where I got to say that's where I've gotten the most of my actors because I did so many of them during the pandemic that I have found so many amazing actors from acting and voice and just recently because I don't do as many actors connection just starting up there, and for a long time I didn't do it for like 10 years. I did not do the classes because I just kind of felt it felt a little icky to me, and I felt it was a little dishonest because I felt like and I also felt the other agents were just there for the buck, and that just really, with no intention on ever meeting these people, never. But it's a different game now, and that's why I started doing it because I really have had so much success with the classes and have found so many wonderful people. So, but thank you so much for asking me. This was fun.
Yeah. Thank you for
Thank
being
you.
willing.
Yes.
And a huge thank you to everybody listening live. And we'd